You're listening to episode 852 of the Father Bales Podcast. Welcome back. This week's episode is entitled The Extraordinary in the Ordinary, given on the 27th Sunday in Ordinary Time, 2022. Today's gospel, we hear this phrase, unprofitable servants. Just doing what we are obliged to do. For those looking from the outside in, that can be rather extraordinary from their perspective. But for the one doing it, often it is just ordinary. Last week marked the second anniversary of my mother's passing. In the months prior to her death, we siblings made frequent visits to her to tend her needs. And as Mom got worse, we kids, and most especially my sisters, kicked into high gear and made sure that we were there to help her 24/7. That is, from cooking to cleaning to shopping, bathing, and even toilet duty. We made sure that she was able to pray her surrender novena, which she was so dedicated to doing, even up to the last day. That novena is the topic for another homily. But each of us offered what we could. Two of my sisters would often then be there all day long, and then when the evening came, one of them would leave and the other one would stay. And I would do my share as I could. What I observed from my sisters was extraordinary. But I'll bet you if you asked them, they would say it was ordinary. It's Mom. That's what's needed. We're going to do it, whatever it is. And in fact, if you ask them, they'd probably say we were privileged to do it. This coming Wednesday would have been her 97th birthday. Now I hope that, and I have reason to have hope, that she is a saint in the halls of heaven, and that itself is another homily. I'm not biased. I'm just telling you the facts. But a spirit stirred in our hearts, and we were not timid about our love physically and spiritually for her, but also for each other. And since then, us siblings have been closer than ever before. We have actually monthly Zoom meetings because we're spread out, and we're sharing our difficulties where maybe we would have reserved that. We're very independent. My life as a priest has had many assignments, and here at Holy Trinity, what I've experienced is no different than the other ones. I've seen many spouses and family members do heroic things. But when I bring it to their attention, they said it's just ordinary. It's what we do. Let me share another story about a couple actually, from St. Anthony in Forest Grove when I was the pastor there. Her husband had a fatal fall from a tractor, and he was a senior, so it didn't take much. But they called me, and they kept him on life support until I arrived. Till I arrived? They wanted to wait till I could do the final rites for him. And so I did. And then the doctors and the medical personnel came in and started turning all the machines off and unplugging things. From her heart, I heard this. Oh God, you are my God, and I will ever praise you. She sang the whole song. Instead of getting angry and wailing, which would have been reasonable, She instead gave praise to God for the gift of her husband. And she sang all the way through until he passed. I've never seen anything like this, and I'm sure the medical personnel had never seen anything like this. I asked her, I said, that was amazing what you did. That was after I stopped crying. And I thanked her. And she responded, that's just how I felt. It's my husband. Her faith just poured out. It was extraordinary. But for her, it was ordinary. See, when the Spirit stirs in our hearts, the extraordinary becomes our ordinary. I stand in awe of grandparents when they step in to raise their grandchildren. Or a parent who stays in their job that they don't like their job so they can feed their families. I'm inspired when I see a teen give special care and attention to another teen who is marginalized by their peers. Thinking about our own Justin Echevarria, or I should say Deacon Justin, I feel hope when I learn about those who make promises to serve the church with their whole lives in the ordained or religious ministries of the church. In the past few days, I imagine that we've all been inspired by stories that we've seen either on the internet or on television about those persons who went into harm's way in order to help those who were trapped or suffering from Hurricane Ian. Just think, what extraordinary things have you witnessed this past week? All of these are extraordinary things, and they're often done ordinarily when you ask those people. And quoting or referring to Habakkuk, which, by the way, is a good baby name if you want to think about baby names. Habakkuk. That's Father Mike Walker. If you watch the video, he says it's going to be the hot name in 2023. But all seriousness, Habakkuk spoke about destruction and violence, and he's waiting how long. And when I see families struggling, exhausted parents, or sickness, yet they step forward anyway. When asked, they're just being mere servants. They did what they're obliged to do. And it was extraordinary. So go out this week and make extraordinary things ordinary in your life. And when you're doing something ordinary, do it in an extraordinary way. It harkens back to St. Teresa of the Child Jesus, or St. Teresa of Lisieux, whose feast day was yesterday. Do small things with great love. How can we do this? Here's an idea. Consider this homework. We're going to be tested next week. We'll see. In your week, notice someone doing something that is seemingly ordinary, but doing it with that quality of being extraordinary. And then approach them. And here's the hard part. And thank them. If this is hard for you to do, then you know what? You've just done something extraordinary.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Father Bill's podcast. If you have any questions or comments, just go to my website, fatherbill.org, FRBILL.org. You can also go to our website at the parish, which for Holy Trinity is H-T, as in Thomas, .org. and that will get you also connected with the YouTube version of the audio that you just heard. But it's the whole Mass, in fact. You can see the whole Mass. We stream the 9:30 Mass on our YouTube page, and that link that's H-T will get you to the YouTube account. And you can also just look up Holy Trinity Beaverton on YouTube as well. On my website, fatherbill.org, I just started last several weeks publishing it there, my Friday Reflections. I used to do a live Friday Q&A, and now it's kind of shifted because of just kind of how we do things at Holy Trinity to just a reflection that's recorded and uploaded. And this last week I did it with a couple of friends, Father Don Gutman and Father Mike Walker. Those are diocesan priests and brothers of mine, and we kind of talked about this last week's readings. This particular homily was helped by that very discussion as well. But anyhow, you can check all those out, and I hope to hear from you if you have any questions. Meantime, may God bless you, and have a great week. God bless. Bye-bye.